Hello and welcome, everyone. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. You're listening to My Strategy. We're on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Well, extremely happy to be here with you today. I'm really glad that you could join us. My Strategy episodes are always live and on Saturdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Today, we're going to be talking about passion versus skill. There's the age-old question of, is it better to do work that you are good at or do something that you are passionate about? Well, again, happy to be here today. Saturday for me is a great day to reflect. It's the day of the week that I pick to start thinking about my strategy and, really start to reflect on what it is that I am doing. Not only what it is that I'm doing, but strategically, what are the things that I should be focusing on? Today's also a great day for you to start to think about what it is that you should be focusing on and working on your own strategy. Our show is growing. We're now available on iHeart, iTunes, Player FM, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spreaker, and more digital platforms. So if you missed an episode, you can find us there. You can also find me on most social platforms. Say hi at Hawkins John at Twitter. That's Hawkins John at Twitter. Or you can go to my website at johnmhawkins.com. And just like anything in life, we need to have a strategy and a plan to help us reach our goals because the best laid plans don't always work. We are always looking for your stories. Now, this week in particular, we're looking for stories on your passion or your versus skill, but any sort of story will work. And if you do send us an email to talk@johnmhawkins.com, you will be entered into our weekly giveaway. Our top submissions will be eligible to receive a free copy of my latest book, Coach to Greatness, which is getting fantastic reviews on Amazon and other sites. You're also going to get a $25 Visa gift card. So get those emails in to talk@johnmhawkins.com. And those emails do get forwarded directly to me, so I will review all of them. Well, we're talking today about passion versus skill. And in this episode, we're going to talk about employers and how they hire and pay for skill. But is skill the only thing that makes a good employee? Skill is at its best when it's combined with your passions. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Pursuing your passions is good for you. There's actually some medical benefits to pursuing your, health benefits to pursuing your passion. We're also going to talk about how to hire talent and passion. They say that hiring talent and passion over skills and experience is better than just hiring somebody with skills and experience. But is that what employers are looking for these days? We're going to talk about passion and skill and why you need both. Go through a little bit about a couple of different definitions. And then we're going to talk about how you can use all of this to create your own strategy to, number one, identify your passion, your skills, and kind of level set and determine, are you on the right path or not? So that is our show for today. Passion versus skill. I've got a article here. It's by Sowilo Consulting, and the article is titled Passion versus Skill. In this case, they're talking about playing golf. It says you're gung-ho about baking. You have an affinity for all things music-related. In other words, you have passions. Your passions are part of what makes you. They're integral to your personality and tell a large portion of your story. They also drive you. With this in mind, how do your passions fit into your career? When you create your resume or tell an interview about yourself, you mention how much you enjoy reading rather than highlight your stellar technical skills. While knowing a little about what makes you tick tells your potential employer something unique about you. It won't make them inclined to hire you, or will it? Employers hire and pay for ability. Again, this is an article by Sowilo Consulting called Passion versus Skill. When they post an open position, they meaning the employers post an open position, they're looking to fill it with someone who possesses the necessary skills, and rightfully so, right? If you're an employer, you'd want somebody who could do the job. During an interview and while building your resume, it's key to highlight the talents that make you the right person for the job. Tell your prospective employer about your recent experiences in the relevant field, your excellent customer service skills, your proficiency for effective communication. You tell them every skill that you possess. That means you can do the job better than anyone else. However, they say here, do not dismiss your passions as irrelevant. Now, they say, while it's highly unlikely that you will get hired and paid for your passions alone, when those passions are reconciled with your skill set, your passions can mean the difference between being hired and continuing your job hunt. Your passion sets you apart from other candidates. So they're saying here it's a differentiator, especially when they can be employed through application of your skills related to your prospective career. Which is true. I mean, when you put together a resume, many times we put down, here's all the skills that I can do. Here is what I am capable of. Here is the training I have taken. But at face value, is that going to make the best employee in any organization or not? And I think that's what they're saying here, is that if you start to dovetail in your passions as they relate to the job, you might set yourself apart. So skill is at its best when it's combined with passion. Those of us who are passionate about something, no matter how trivial, demonstrate the ability to invest and remain invested in something. We illustrate drive and motivation to pursue what's important to us. Although it's tough to do when you're looking for a new career, look for positions that allow you to pursue your passion while utilizing your ability. As you're out there looking to start a company or looking to start a new job, are you thinking about that? You know, what are you thinking about when you're looking for this new position? Is it purely, am I qualified for the position? Do I possess the skill? Or is this job, this career, this pursuit something that is going to help me become a better person? Is there a higher purpose, a higher mission that I could be pursuing at the same time focusing on my career? I think you're going to find in the next segment that there are so many health benefits to determining, or so many health benefits in following your passion, that it would make sense to really try and find a job that lets you. If you don't, there's a possibility that you're not going to receive all of those great health benefits. Now, pursuing your passion is not the only thing, but I think it is something that can really help you as you're evaluating your career. And also, if you're in a career, how you can start to go about to enhancing your career, how you can go about starting to getting the most out of what you're doing today. If you haven't been engaged in a passion and working on it with your current employer, it's not too late. I think there's plenty of opportunities for us to do that. The key is for us to really start to think about this and become aware that, you know, are we just somebody who is rewarded, compensated for our skill sets, or are we somebody who is recognized as having a specific passion or talent beyond just the skill set? And then that is something that is attractive as well. So that is, you know, where I see this, is really trying to figure out how is it that we are going to go about pursuing not only passions, but also making sure that those are dovetailed in with our skills. And if we can do that, it gives us the ability to be much happier and healthier. You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. We're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about pursuing your passions and how it can help your health. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. We're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. We're very happy to be here today and glad that you could join us. Today we're talking about passion versus skill. Right before the break, we were talking about how employers hire and pay for skill, but we also determined that it might be better if they try and combine that with a passion. You can be an even more effective employee. So specifically, if you've got a skill but are passionate, it would set you apart. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about pursuing your passions and how it can be good for you. It actually can improve your health, and it's something that can help you become a better person. All right, so I'm going to be leaning on a little information here from the Senior Living blog. Now, you might say, why am I pulling information from a senior living blog? And I guess if you think about it, if there are tips and tricks that are given to you as a senior to help you be healthier, might not that apply now? And if we applied them now, wouldn't that help us with our transition into senior living? Hopefully it will come later rather than sooner, but it will come. This article is called Pursuing Your Passion Can Improve Your Health. It says, in fact, there's an $84 billion industry exceeding that spent on education dedicated to personal health and beauty in North America, which encompasses cosmetic surgery, diets, pills, fragrances, hair and skin color, and health clubs. The Economist reports that beauty companies have gone a step further and are now developing products that blur the lines between cosmetics and non-prescription drugs called cosmeceuticals. They say here that but there is an easier way to improve your health rather than spending all that money on that $84 billion industry. Studies repeatedly show that pursuing your passion can not only improve your physiological well-being, it can also improve your physical health. An abstract published by Springer Open defines passion as a strong inclination toward a self-defining activity that people like, or even love, find important, and in which they invest the time and energy on a regular basis. Say, a personal passion can be anything that you enjoy doing, including baking and cooking, being active in sports, yoga, collecting antiques, stamps, crafting and creating, music, time spent outdoors, fishing, hiking, spending time with family, volunteering, and writing. So if those are the passions, and right before the break we were talking about some of the passions, which of these skills would an employer hire you for? Right? These are things that you enjoy doing, but they might not be things that you are going to be paid for because employers are looking for skills. And it does say here that focusing on those can improve your mental wellness. Robert J. Valor, an author of The Role of Passion in Sustainable Psychological Well-Being, defines psychological well-being as happiness, life satisfaction, and self-growth. And he theorizes that having a passion for an activity leads to sustainable positive effects on physiological well-being or a balanced, happy life. Translation, this is work-life balance. It says here, many people find that having a passion provides them with a drive for self-improvement and a purpose. Where have we heard that before? Organizations talking about a purpose or a purpose-driven culture. And that they experience increased feelings of happiness and positivity while performing the activity they are passionate about. Feelings that stay with them long after they are finished with the activity. Well, think about that in terms of if you're in a position where you're needed for your skill, but the skill isn't combined with a passion, you're not getting those daily deposits into that bank account. And as a result, it can have impacts on your health. You don't feel as happy. You aren't feeling as connected, engaged with what you are doing at work. Feelings of happiness can also have a greater impact on our health overall. An article published by Thrive Global reports that many scientific studies have found a connection between happiness and good health, As well, in his abstract, Valerian reported that much research reveals that happy people experience a number of benefits ranging from physical health to better relationships to high level performance. So, what are some of these benefits as outlined in this article from Senior Living blog? It says improve physical health. Some of the many benefits you could find by pursuing your passion: improved brain health, including memory and mental agility, improved sleep quality, lower blood pressure, lower risk of heart disease, lower risk of stress, anxiety, and depression. They then go on to talk about how you can go about discovering your own passions. And we're going to talk a lot about different ways. A couple of the tips they give are inventory your talents. Notice that when you lose track of time or what you hate to stop doing, pay attention to what makes you jealous. That's a very interesting one. In fact, I'm going to highlight that one. Pay attention to what makes you jealous. See your passion hunt as fun and a joyful adventure. Those are some of the tips. But I think, looking at this makes sense. If when you get to a senior age and you are, sitting around really focusing on, quality of life and trying to live out your golden years, it can be difficult to try and pursue a passion. Your career could have been your passion. Your friends were your passion. And if those careers and friends start to go away, what are you going to be focusing on? But how can we apply that today? I think today it tells me that really just focusing on a skill in the workplace isn't going to necessarily give you health and happiness. And that it's when we find our passion at work, at our business, in life, it potentially has many health benefits. So that's, really, I think, the reason behind having a good balance between passion and skill. And many times it takes a while for us to realize that we are not passionate or do not have a passion or drive for what we are doing. We get focused on the habit. You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. We're on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to be talking about hiring talent and passion. Hire talent and passion over skills and experience. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. You're listening to My Strategy. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins. We're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. We're very happy to be here with you today. Very glad that you can join us. Today we're talking about skill versus passion. You can send us an email to talk@johnmhawkins.com. That's talk@johnmhawkins.com. And if you send an email, you'll be entered for our weekly giveaway, which is a copy of my latest book, Coach to Greatness, which those of you on YouTube will be able to see. If not, you can find it on Amazon. Well, right before the break, we were talking about, pursuing your passion, and is it good for you? And we talked a little bit about how there are specific health benefits for you if you do follow your passion. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about hiring talent and passion. I've got an article here by a guest contributor. His name is Joe Santana. I don't know if he's related to Carlos Santana, but that would be quite the connection. The title of the article is Hire Talent and Passion Over Skill and Experience. Again, by Joe Santana. He says, as a hiring manager, knowledge and training are traditionally the most important areas you look at when evaluating a candidate, but he suggests that maybe it's time to shift your focus. Joe says for more than 17 years, he's made it a practice to hire talent and passion over skill and experience, and he's never been disappointed, even when he took this idea to considerable extremes. For example, many years ago, Joe says that he had a position that was open, and he hired a young operations assistant. However, the young operations assistant did not have the skills that were required to do the job. But it did not deter him from hiring these candidates because he hired them primarily for their talents and passion. So it's the aptitude. She had the ability to learn, and she was passionate. If he had just gone through the traditional route of hiring based on skills, he might have overlooked somebody who did have passion. It says here, unfortunately, talent and drive are two of the most overlooked qualities of a job candidate during the search interview process. And this is according to some research he cites. It says, generally, when people are interviewed, the hiring manager uses a task and experience job description to find candidates. The hiring manager focuses on a resume, which highlights skills acquired through schooling, training, and/or experience. While skills and importance are important attributes that should be considered, talent and passion, in his opinion, are even more vital to the real job performance success and should be given a greater weight. How many of you have been in that position? You know you're passionate about something, you want to be involved, yet you're told, we're sorry, you don't have the right skills. Yet you know that if you were given the chance, you would be able to thrive, excel. You would probably be the best you could be, but you're not given the chance. It says here, I found that people do their best when they are doing things that they naturally do well, they have a talent for, and enjoy doing, which means has a passion for to perform. On the other hand, when people are performing jobs for which they have had adequate training, but which they lack the talent, drive, and passion, they tend to be mediocre and disengaged. I don't know. How true is this? You find some people who are extremely skilled, have the ability to do many things. They could have gotten straight A's throughout their high school career. They could have been the star player on the team or the fastest runner. Yet if they don't have the passion, they don't have the drive, they don't have what it takes to bring more to the position, to bring more to the team, well, why are all these hiring managers hiring them? I mean, that is the question that I have. And so when we start to think about, what is this process, this hiring process that we do, and based on your experience, how many of these employers are trying to really determine what your passion is, trying to determine what your ability is? They don't do that. They focus on the resume. They focus on the words that are written on the resume. But who wrote those words? The person that wrote the words might have been the person who actually did them, but it is relative based on the skill set. I could put 10 keywords on a resume and I could know enough to get through the screening process. But am I the most skilled for the job? Of course, there's testing. There's aptitude tests. There's technical tests you can have people do. But that's just the skill. What it's saying here is that they want to have people who have talent and also passion. So what are we doing differently, if anything, to find the talent and passion? I'd love to get your thoughts. If you have any ideas on this, send it to talk@johnmhawkins.com, talk@johnmhawkins.com. It also talks about what falls under the umbrella of talent and passion. Joe's definition of talent is, I mean the natural predisposition to be highly effective in certain areas. For one person, it might include explaining ideas. For another person, it might be sensing emotional state of others and having the ability to adjust as needed to build rapport and confidence. How many times do you need that if you're a consultant working in a stressful situation? That skill alone could be 10 times more valuable than just being able to do the technical piece. By passion, Joe says, I mean the feeling or emotional response that move us to behave in certain ways. How often have you heard the business phrase, park your emotions outside and just give and focus on giving 100% to your job? The fact is that neither you nor I, including anyone else, including the person who first uttered those words, can actually do that. He says chemical reactions that fire us up and bring us down have a large impact on our ability to generate 100%. Why would you park those emotions? Wouldn't it be better to find a way to listen to those emotions, to understand what they are trying to tell us and in what situation? And rather than acting with the emotional response, to figure out a way that we can respond appropriately. I think that's part of the art of dealing with our emotions, especially in the workplace, especially when you have somebody who's extremely passionate. You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. We're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network in TuneIn Radio. Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking about passion versus skill and why you need both. I'm going to go through passion and skill, some additional definitions, and also talk about what gets you excited and keeps you passionate. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us, I'm your host, John M. Hawkins. You're listening to My Strategy. and we're on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Today we're talking about passion versus skill. We're talking about the age-old question, is it better to do work that you are good at or to do something that you're passionate about? We've been talking about what employers are looking for in regard to hiring for skill. We talked a little bit about the benefits, though, of following your passions. And we just talked a little bit in the prior segment about how hiring managers should be focusing on talent and passion and not just the skill. In this segment, I want to talk about passion versus skill and why we need both. Got an article here from Ksenia Tuchinskaya, and I apologize, I probably have completely butchered her name. The article is Passion versus Skill and Why You Need Both. She starts off with, as you look around for a hint about the next steps in your life, there is no shortage of advice. Sometimes it's practical, sometimes it's inspirational. The most frequent advice I've heard when I was in my 20s and teens is follow your passion. How many times have you been heard that? Follow your passion. She says passion is the thing that fascinates you, that lights you up, that you can spend hours talking about. It could be playing an instrument or reading about your history or exploring the outdoors. They don't have to be central to your career, but passions can be a wonderful guide when considering your next steps. Your skills. She says the skills are the practical talents that you can offer to the world, to an employer, to a client. It can be writing, public speaking, programming, mathematics skills, budget, making great spreadsheets, working with children. There's always new skills that we can develop, whether it be in classroom or on the job. She says when you think about making a career out of your passions, be realistic in figuring out what skill set you'll need to succeed. She suggests that we need both passion and skills, which I do agree with. The best jobs are in the sweet spot when these overlap. There are many ways to strike that balance. As you think about your next step, she's giving us some do's and don'ts. Some I agree with, others I might like to enhance a bit, but we're going to go through them. She says, do things about what excites you. When you lose track of time because you are so absorbed, when this happens, pay attention. Try to figure out what specifically made you feel this way. Now, I don't know if that includes binge watching your favorite television show, but maybe that's telling you something. What was the show about? What was the topic? Why were you enthralled? For example, you can't stop thinking about how much you enjoyed your role as a camp counselor. Did you enjoy being outdoors? Was it being with the kids or teaching them new things, or was it the sports and activities? Same thing with hobbies. What aspect of your hobby do you find most satisfying? Reflecting on this will help you figure out your priorities, and I think that's some good advice. What are those things that excite us? Sometimes we have, or I personally, I have an issue with thinking about the things that I have been taught to do in school through parents. And I am told that those are the things that I should be excited about, that I should be focusing on. Yet when I do them, I'm not excited. I'm not passionate about them. I can do them and I do a great job at them. Here she's saying, think about what really excites you. What are those things where you have that sense of adrenaline, that rush, that feeling of accomplishment? Write them down. Write them down. The next one she says is, do think about what you're good at, what comes easily to you when others struggle. What do teachers, parents, and friends compliment you on? You don't have to have an innate talent to pick up new skill, but don't ignore the talents that you already have and consider how they would fit in with your passions. Easier said than done, right? How many times are you good at something and you enjoy doing it, but you don't see a future in it? You don't see a way to make a living, a way to monetize it. She says, don't bother with personality tests. Many skills assessments spit out a list of stereotypical jobs: teacher, doctor, lawyer. But the range of careers is incredibly diverse, and new jobs are getting created all the time. And while personality tests can be fun, they're mostly bogus. These are her words. You have a unique set of skills, traits, and passions. Don't let a quiz make any big decisions for you. I think the personality tests that tie you to a specific occupation, occupational tests, could stereotype you and get you into a specific job. There's other personality type tests, like the DISC assessment, that can give you insight into how you are as a leader. So I wouldn't throw away all personality tests, but point taken. She says, do consider your values. A passion can be for a subject, but it can also be for a cause. For example, if you value education or the environment, consider the multiple ways you can be involved in a role to honor those values. You can be an environmental activist. You can work in corporate sustainability. You can be a teacher. You can be an education policy researcher. There's many paths. She also suggested not to worry about the money, at least just yet. She says in her earlier career, she heard the phrase, do what you love and the money will follow. Well, not exactly true. You should think carefully before racking up debt. Try exploring directions that are curious without making any assumptions about your future salary. For example, if you always dreamed about being a musician, but you're worried that your career doesn't pay well enough, don't automatically rule it out. Take a voluntary role or unpaid internship. That's where we were talking about getting the experience for things. You need to have experience. How do you get it? Sometimes you have to volunteer. She also says don't panic. Fear and anxiety are bad. It's perfectly natural to feel these emotions, but learn to distinguish between the helpful gut feeling and fear of failure. Not only fear of failure, I would like to add fear of success. Are you afraid that you could be successful? Many times it's not the fear of failure, but it's the fear of success. You know what to do, but you don't do it. You don't do it because there's a possibility that you could be successful. And that success is similar to what we feel when we are anxious. Even though it might be the fear of failure, or you think it's the fear of failure, it might be that you are scared to be successful. If you can identify that and deal with that anxiety, it gives you the ability to tackle it head on. She also suggests we need to take action. Don't worry about how you feel about something until you try it. Take jobs, internships, take classes on new subjects, and talk to people who are already doing the work that you are interested in. You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. We're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about creating your strategies and ways to find your passion. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins. We're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network, and you're listening to My Strategy. Today we're talking about passion versus skill. Right before the break, we talked about passion versus skill and why you need both. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about creating your strategy. Before I do that, I want to remind you that we are looking for your feedback, and you can send an email to talk@johnmhawkins.com. That's talk@johnmhawkins.com. We are giving away a freebie. Every week we give away a copy of my latest book, Coach to Greatness, along with a $25 Visa gift card to pay for the coffee tab that you will get after you sit down and read it, potentially. Or you could use it for whatever you want. Well, happy to have you here today. We've been talking about passion versus skill. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about ways to find your passion, having the right perspective, things like that. When we come down to looking at our strategy, it always is helpful for us to have a systematic approach to doing this. And my systematic approach is a 5-step process where you can go through and start to think about your strategy from a factual way. The first is to have awareness. What are your visions? What are your goals? What is it you're trying to achieve? In this case, we're trying to find our passion. We are trying to get a better job. We're trying to find work-life balance. We're trying to lead with purpose, something along those lines. But we need to be aware that this is something that's important to us. If a job is just a paycheck and you don't want to do something that you're passionate about, then creating a strategy for this might not be something you would want to focus on. But if it is something you want to focus on, we then want to go into our next step, which is assess and analyze. We want to assess the situation, do some analysis, and figure it out. What are those steps that we can take? What are those things that we've taken that aren't working? Are we conflicted? Is this you? Once we've really come to an assessment on what it is we're trying to do, we need to strategize and plan. We all are on a certain course of actions, we perform actions every day. And in some cases, we're working on courses of actions. But where are those courses of actions taking us, and how are they helping us with respect to finding our passion? Once we've identified and come up with those strategies that are working, and then perhaps those that aren't, we need to not focus on the ones that aren't working and focus and invest more time in the ones that we feel will get us to that goal. We then need to implement the plan, start doing those new actions, start enforcing new habits. If it takes 21 days to have a new habit enforced, how many days did you give on your course of actions before you gave up? Did you give the full 21? Also, we need support and evaluation to do this. I think for this segment, I want to talk a little bit about ways you can find your passion. We've got an article here, which is 6 fresh ways to find your career passion, since we're looking for tactics and strategies that we can use. And again, the writer here says it can be frustrating when people advise you, just follow your passion. I might have said just follow your passion a time or two. I might have given you a little bit of additional coaching beyond that, but, follow your passion only gets you so far. The author here suggests that we should start with the right perspective. If you went to the restaurant with a strong opinion, I'm not hungry, there will be nothing there you want to eat. I don't want to be here. The menu isn't going to look appealing. You won't explore it with due time or attention, and it's unlikely you'll find food that you enjoy eating. Isn't perspective a lot of it? How we approach things, how we look at our work? If we're in a job and we're in that position and we don't feel engaged, we're not being reached out to, we're not being engaged, we could look at that from the perspective of, my boss isn't engaging with me. But perhaps if you could flip the script and say, am I engaging with the company? Am I engaging with the boss? Am I focusing on the right things? By changing the perspective, you can start to focus on things that are going to get you closer to the goal rather than focusing on the negative. The next thing this author suggests is that, in this article it suggests, is get out your metal detector. Once you've decided that your passion is findable, it's time to look for new evidence of what you love to do. If you scan the landscape of life, you'll notice certain experiences peak up. It's so valuable to delve into these peak moments and key ingredients. Get out your metal detector. And I might add, look for the signs of ferrous versus non-ferrous. Ferrous is iron-based. Non-ferrous are things like gold and silver. The third one is look for the umbrella. When you look at all the ingredients that matter to you, they might at first seem entirely disconnected. Let's say you love French, drinking coffee, playing with words, and analyzing categories, and being a leader within the community. How could you construct a career around these? It'd be like peering into your cupboard and seeing cocoa powder, tofu, and carrots, and just wondering, how could I possibly make something delicious out of all of these? I never really thought about that. But look under your umbrella. What are the things around you in your life? If you have to make dinner, and you open the fridge or the pantry, there's a finite amount of ingredients in there. How do you put them together to create a meal? I don't know. That sounds like a great analogy and something, maybe to explore. How do we look for what's under the umbrella? Discern between a hobby and a profitable passion. Well, it might be that through this exploration you fall head over heels in love with an activity that engrosses you, something that lights you up, makes your heart sing. But now you have to ask yourself the next question: who would benefit, or better yet, pay for this? Well, if you want to contribute your passion to society and make income from it, you need to get realistic about it. I think what they're talking about here is the business model. Sure, there's lots of things we can do, but is there a business model for us to help us find the monetary benefits of it? Or perhaps there are health benefits, and in that case, if you're going to live 10 years longer because you're doing something, would that not be worth it? What would you pay for 10 additional years of life? Expect the mutiny is number 5. When you seek your passion, there will be parts of you that go into rebellion. I guess this article itself might be provoking some of those resistant parts. We all have fears, it says, around failure, success, visibility, vulnerability, that speak in sensible voices instructing us that we mustn't do what we love. Yet we can. Says you should also find the limits of your bravery. On her own journey, she mostly lived by the motto, live, leap, and the net will appear. She noticed that she could find the new one that says, I'd say farewell to the old with each step into the unknown, for example, handing in the notice on my part-time salary job to go full-time. The universe is available, and it's all available to me. You're listening to My Strategy. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins. We're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about putting your strategy in place. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back, everyone. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. You're listening to My Strategy, and we're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Well, I am so excited and happy to be here today. Really glad that you could join us as well. Our episodes are always live on Saturdays from 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. In this episode, we've been talking about passion versus skill. We've been talking about the age-old question, is it better to do what you're good at or do something that you're passionate about? Now, in case you have missed this broadcast, you can listen to it on iHeartRadio and Apple iTunes or many of the other digital platforms that are out there. And if you'd like to have something covered on the show, please send an email to talk@johnmhawkins.com. That's talk@johnmhawkins.com. Or give us a call at 844-MY-STRATEGY, 844-MY-STRATEGY. And you have about 5 more minutes to get in your emails to be entered into the giveaway. And the giveaway is for a copy of my latest book, Coach to Greatness. And also, we're giving away a $25 Visa gift card that you can spend on whatever you want. Well, today we've been talking about passion and skill. We talked about how many employers hire and pay for skill. Challenge is that as they're focusing on all these skills, are they able to identify people who are passionate and who are, truly have the talent to be able to perform? Also, we talked about how pursuing your passion can be good for you and how it can improve your health. There's an article that we went through from it was an assisted living place where they talked about how there are many health benefits to doing what you love. Finding those hobbies, those things that you're passionate about, can help you feel better. They have medical benefits, lower blood pressure. They can help you with stress, to sleep better. Well, imagine if you had that type of thing throughout your day at work. If you're stressed at work, but if you were focusing on something that included your passion and it could lower your heart rate or could help you, what would that do to your life? Improve it? I think so. We then talked about how it's important to hire talent and passion, and maybe employers should start to focus on talent and passion over skills and experience. That was the recommendation of Joe from a blog article that we read, where he says there's people with adequate training, but they lack the talent and drive, and as a result, they potentially could fail. So he focuses on passion and talent. We then talked a little bit about passion and skill, why you need both. Passion and skills, we talked about the definitions of them, figuring out what excites you. What are things that you should be focusing on to find those passions? We need to identify them and write them down. Write them down so that we have a record of what activity were we doing where we were excited about it. I know from my perspective, every day, every weekend, I do a radio show, and I also have started doing a video live stream, and I get excited when I'm getting ready to go on the air. I'm getting excited right after I finish the show. Find yours. And finally, we need to find a way to put all of this in place. We need to break our habits and develop new ones. And all of that helps when we start to consciously prioritize our goals. You've been listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. We've been coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. We'll see you next time.